for prank calls only.
There's a super secret phone that people use when they get in trouble, because I'm a criminal defense attorney. That's the bat phone. Not everybody has that one, and that phone line stays on 24/7. But the truth is, both lines. Why am I not seeing it on Geaux Rouge?
The truth on YouTube. I think we're on.
I was watching Les Mis earlier. For those of you who like Les Mis, a loaf of bread. Ah, there we are. There.
Oh, there's a little delay.
There is a little delay.
Because I'm swaying now, but I'm not swaying.
You sway. If you want to sway.
There he goes. There he goes.
You knock yourself out. She plays an intro. And once she plays the intro. Hold on a second. Hey, YouTube. How's it going?
Hello.
You can start the intro music, and then I will do the dance. And
This is the Geaux Rouge Show, where host Franz Borghardt celebrates businesses and people who are making Baton Rouge a better place. From culture to business, from food to philanthropy, Geaux Rouge connects you to what and who is happening. Now, here's your host, Franz Borghardt.
all right. Welcome to another episode of the Geaux Rouge Radio Show. This is your host, Franz Borghardt. We have Alondra helping us out on Master Control. Special guest co-host, Dylan Ferguson.
Thank you. Thank you.
You remember Dylan Ferguson from...
I'm back.
What was that thing we used to do with you? How to become a better diner?
How to be a better diner.
How to be a better diner.
How to be a better diner.
We're going to save a little time for that today.
Oh, great.
Oh,
okay.
I was at one of your spots today, Corks. Dylan,
yeah.
And I was using an app.
The Toast app.
The Toast app.
Yeah.
And I've got, anyways. So, great show lined up. I know I say that every week. Great show lined up this week. We have Rosana Sotile from a wonderful organization called Sacred Space Health. Super cool lady. She's going to be talking to us about some wonderful wellness stuff. That's a really inadequate way of articulating it.
Perfect.
I have a higher educational degrees and stuff.
A professor.
Mental, emotional, physical wellness.
I'm so excited.
I'm all about
it. Start your inner space journey.
Well, I know you, like myself, we do enjoy a good meditation.
That's right.
So we're going to talk a little bit about that. How you turn places into special sacred spaces, and that there's some ambiguity in that too. So we're going to talk about that in the first half, and then we have one of your good friends, Kelly Maples, on.
That's right.
Who's Kelly Maples, Dylan?
Kelly Maples is a LMSW, and she's here.
What is an LMSW?
LMSW, licensed.
Do I call her a doctor?
Licensed master social worker. Not yet. Not doctor yet, but coming soon.
I have a JD, and we don't call me a doctor, and that's like a thing. Right.
Yeah.
So what's she going to be talking to us about?
She's going to be talking to us about the COPE project and her work, her partnership with Together Baton Rouge and LSU.
I love LSU.
I know.
So before we get into our guests, I got to tell you, man, I get to be on a graduation stage tomorrow.
I can't believe that.
As you know, I'm an adjunct professor.
That's right.
An adjunct. The kids call me professor, which my ego loves. And so I get to be on a main stage, but there's a story behind. I didn't get the right gown in time, so my gown is going to be different than the other LSU law professor gowns.
Oh, that's great. Is it going to be like noticeably different? Like, is it neon?
It's going to be noticeably different enough to where people are going to be like, "Oh, that Franz.
Oh, that Franz. That wrong gown.
That narcissistic attention."
Oh, look. I'll actually say this is the first time that I've been on the show that you've commented about your adjunct professorship. So I want to commend you for that. That's the first time I think the radio has ever heard about that.
That's a great segue into our show sponsor, the Borghardt Law Firm.
Oh, the Borghardt.
You see what I did there?
Yeah.
So, criminal defense firm.
That's right.
That has as its head, yours truly, doesn't just practice law, but teaches at the flagship law school in the state of Louisiana.
You know a lot about law.
No. I figured if I use an authoritative voice and act as if I'm very knowledgeable about something and don't use words like stuff, all sorts of people just assume that I know what I'm talking about. And and if I don't correct them. So yeah, Borghardt Law Firm is the show sponsor. They are the finest criminal defense attorney firm in the multiverse.
I still love that the firm backs you up on this. Okay? Like the whole firm is behind you.
I know the owner of that firm,
and they all support you.
He's skeptical about this sponsorship thing, but you know, anyways, yes. So turn my phone volume down. I thought my phone volume was completely down.
No, it's not. I can hear it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, is that better now?
Oh my God. It's
rookies.
No, it's still.
You sure that's my phone?
It's your phone.
So we can edit this out, right? All right.
I was sitting there, it's like, Franz, why is your phone volume on? What are you doing? Oh, it was me.
Yeah, it was great co-hosting with you, Dylan.
Thanks for having me on the show, Franz.
So, thank you, Alondra. So, without further ado, Rosana Sotile is the owner of Sacred Space Health. So, I'm going to give you this as a background. This is how weird of a memory, this is how messed up my brain is. I actually went to kindergarten with Rosana and remember Rosana from kindergarten at Walnut Hills.
Yes, we were there at Walnut Hills.
Yes. I transferred after kindergarten to the mean streets of Westdale Elementary before it was a magnet school. Wonderful times. I can share about that with you later.
Yeah.
She went on to I think we both went to McKinley Middle Magnet.
We both went to McKinley Middle.
I mean, so the point is we're not besties, but I remembered her, but I was looking at some of the stuff she was doing. Great. I'm buffering you up here now. Buffering.
Do it.
So Rosana, welcome to the Geaux Rouge show. This is your first time on the show.
Yep.
One of the things, say again?
Happy to be here.
I am happy that you're here. Dylan's happy you're here.
We're happy.
So one of the things we try to have on the show, we celebrate people doing great stuff in Baton Rouge and for that matter, just period. But one of the things I love having as a recurring component of the show is wellness. And wellness takes different shapes and sizes. You know, our second guest of the show today is maybe
we have a whole wellness themed show.
Oh, it's
whole
like
thing. It just happened.
Just happened. There are no coincidences.
We planned it that way from the beginning. This is Wellness Week.
So Rosana has a lot of hats on. So Rosana, tell us a little bit about what Sacred Space Health is.
Sure. Well, I am a certified from Chopra Education. And if you're familiar with Deepak Chopra, and I'm a certified health instructor. It's Ayurvedic health, which is a 5,000-year-old science of life.
Okay.
And it's really interesting. It's very fascinating, but that's like a whole nother show. And I'm also working on my certification in primordial sound meditation.
Okay.
And then that's
primordial sound meditation.
It's very, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
And then after that, I'll be getting a national board certification in health and wellness coaching.
So how did you get into all that?
Well,
walk me
okay, well, we'll go back. So I guess about 7 or 8 years ago, I was going through a really rough time in my life. Like a lot of us.
We're acquainted with rough times.
So you call it like the dark night of the soul.
Right.
It's just a really dark place, struggling with mental health and depression. And, I was introduced to a book. A friend of mine gave me a book by Eckhart Tolle called The Power of Now. And it's all about the present moment. And it teaches you how to basically the difference between the present moment, the future, and the past, and how the present moment is really the only moment that truly exists, right? So from there, I was kind of drawn into meditation because meditation allows you to come back to that present moment within, and you tap into a source, your inner source of stillness and silence. And that's when the healing process begins. You can heal your body physically, mentally, and spiritually.
So I will tell you, and Dylan knows this. Remember that time I went to Sedona by myself on car?
Yeah.
I love Sedona. That's my favorite place. I've been there so many times.
Drove to Sedona to figure some stuff out.
Yeah.
And so here's the next segment of topic is, meditation. It took me a very long time to get to a place where I was even, and I'm still not good at meditation, that I could sit in quiet. And I know that's hard for you to believe that I can sit in quiet.
I wasn't going to say anything.
So
I was just listening to the story.
So talk to me a little bit about the journey for those out there who are like, man, that meditation thing sounds really cool. Like, how do I get from here to there?
So really there is a big misconception. People are always saying, oh, I can't meditate. I don't know how to meditate.
Right.
There's really only two things you need to do. to meditate, and it's to sit down and close your eyes. And in fact, you don't even really have to close your eyes. You know, some people that have a lot of past trauma are uncomfortable sitting with their eyes closed for, you know, a long period of time, especially if you're in a room with other people. And that's fine. You can even, you know, have a soft gaze looking downward, or you can do, they have visualization meditations where you focus on an object or like a candle flame or an object that just brings you a lot of serenity and peace while you meditate.
I use repetitive phrases.
Yes.
Or
Mantras?
Yeah.
Well, some of them are mantras, in fact, and some of them is just the repetitive phrase, like something like, you know, thy will be done or whatever.
I was going to ask you.
Yeah. Some of them are spiritual. Some of them are spiritual. Some of them are religious in nature. Sometimes it's you know, it could be a play on a prayer, or it can be a let go. And just, I feel silly me talking about this. She's the expert here.
No, it's
but
good
it's
to share.
So for me, it's all about it. I turned the corner when I started doing breathing exercises.
Yes.
So when I started breathing, that was like, and look, you got to, I got to tell you, I'm sitting in a therapist's office, and she's like, well, maybe some of your problems could be solved with some light breathing. She had like a whole bunch of letters after her name, like Kelly did. And I was like, I looked at this nice, God bless her soul. I looked at this woman and said, lady, you're going to have to come a lot stronger than breathing.
Breathing, yeah.
And now I'm like, I can't imagine.
Wait, but did it work? You tried it?
After Sedona and in Sedona, that was the first time I just sat, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to surrender, and I'm going to follow the breathing exercises that I've been given. And like, I'm sitting looking at the desert, looking at the painted landscape, and, you know, they're supposed to have these spiritual vortexes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Energy.
Yes. I bathed in them.
Wow.
And by doing the repetitive breathing thing, I finally got to that point where I was like, oh my gosh, did I just meditate? Oh my gosh. I felt so much.
You did.
So okay.
Yeah.
So
and they call the breathing pranayama.
do that again for us. Say it.
Pranayama.
Pranayama.
Yeah.
Pranayama.
It's a Sanskrit word. And
Okay.
It refers to breath work.
Oh, breathing is my jam these days. Okay. So you're in this dark season. I like to use the word season.
Yes.
You get into this meditation, this wellness phase of your life. And then at some point you decide, I'm going to share this with others.
So this is another transition. Because,
Right.
you know, it's always a journey. We're always on some sort of journey. You know, I like to say we're spiritual beings having a human experience, right? So part of this human experience is, you know, I've been able to heal myself, you know, over the past several years with everything that I've learned and I've experienced. And I feel, and I've, you know this from talking with other people as well, is that you transition into the teacher phase. You know, and that's kind of like the next step in your journey, because really when you become a teacher, you know, Franz being an adjunct professor and everything. So
Oh, God.
the teacher, you still remain a student, right? You're never really like fully out of the student phase. So you enter into like this reciprocal cycle of life where you teach, but you're still learning. And then the people you're teaching, they're constantly learning as well. And eventually they will become teachers.
I learn more from the students and the way they bend their brains around things than me sitting there trying to teach myself stuff. All right. So another thing that I think is absolutely cool about, there's a reason she's on, right?
Right.
So you know, I get into like what people are doing. We got to talk about space.
Yes.
Oh,
definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So I never even thought about it, but like we always think about health in space, like not just like space that's sacred and healthy and well and safe, like outer space. Have you ever thought about the fact that these people that are going into astronauts, I think that's what they're called.
Yeah.
These astronauts that are going into space, the trauma on their bodies and the experience, I never even thought about like correlating what you're doing to it. So how in the world did you get into that? That's like so cool.
Yes. So there is a phenomenon from astronauts when they come back to Earth, when they're in space and they come back to Earth. There is a psychological transition that they go through, because a lot of them talk openly about this. And there's an author, Frank Wright, he wrote a whole book about this, and it's called The Overview Effect.
Okay.
They experience the overview effect, and what that is, when you view Earth from space, it has a complete psychological impact on you.
more about the psychological impact.
I think the book will probably explain it a lot more, but it has a lot to do with just seeing how small it becomes and seeing the atmosphere and how delicate our atmosphere is. You know, you literally are shot up, you know, through a rocket, through the atmosphere into this vast infinity of space. And then you look back at the Earth and it's just, you realize how precious and vulnerable our small little planet is. And psychologically, when you come back down and you come back into, you know, reality, it has a lot of psychological impact on them. Wow.
So you are working, I mean, your company,
well, it's just me for right now.
It's just you.
Similar to the Borghardt law firm.
Right.
There's nothing, there's nothing wrong with referring to your company as it's bigger. First of all, Dylan, I live as if, and second of all, I actually have a lot of people that I work with that I contract with. I just I am the soldier of one. So your company, which is like an engine that can, Sacred Space Health. Okay, part of what you're working on is.
So I've actually I'm involved in several nonprofits in the space industry, and one of them is the analog astronaut community. And these folks are incredible. They're amazing. You know, most people don't know this, but we actually have lots of different habitats all over the Earth. And what happens here is that science experiments are run. There's lots of, you know, analog missions to simulate Moon and Mars missions that we do here on Earth before we do them up there.
You and I were, in fact, talking before we got up here about how they have a simulation. They are 3D printing a lunar space station, and there's a community of individuals living here.
Yes, they will be soon.
Yeah.
Not yet. It'll be a year-long. It's at the Johnson Space Center. It'll be a year-long analog mission. But yeah, so it's really fascinating. And a lot of these are volunteer positions. NASA does have paid analog astronauts. But so I got involved and talking to them and talking about what they go through on the analog missions. It's just as rough as going to space. There's a lot of mental, you know, pressure put on them. And so I would like to bring this concept of meditation and mindfulness. That's something that they can use on their analog missions.
So we have about 5 minutes left.
Sure.
I want to get into the conversation about spaces on Earth.
Yes.
Like making great wellness spaces on Earth. So you know this, Dylan, I have a spot in my house I call the chapel, which is like you walk into it and it has a feeling. Now, part of the feeling is because of the plants. Part of it's because of the sound, the visual.
The
but
statues?
like, there are some statues. Yes, there is some iconoclastic Roman Catholic stuff going on there, but that's neither here nor there. So my point is in your remaining 4 minutes now, talk to me a little bit about how individuals can create this kind of space, either in their lives, in their houses, at their offices, whatever.
Well, we'll pinpoint on that, but I actually want to say there's 3 different types of sacred spaces that we can actually just be mindful and be aware of. And one of them is exactly what you said, our, you know, external environment, whether we create the sacred space within our home, like you said, with mementos and things that are special to us. Also, our Earth itself, like I just explained, is a sacred space. She is, you know, very, very sacred. And of course, outer space, you know, the infinite expanse of outer space is also sacred. As you know, there's so much out there that we can discover. And also, the most important one is our inner sacred space. And meditation is a way for us to access that inner space because between our thoughts, there's a space. So where one thought ends and before the next thought begins, there's a gap. And when we meditate, we slip into that gap. And when we slip into that gap, we're able to meet our true selves. And that's where a lot of self-discovery comes from. A lot of self-inquiry, and the more you slip into that gap, the more you understand who you are, what your purpose is, and after you are finished meditating, you take that with you back into your everyday life, and you really cultivate more like vitality and joy and just spontaneous happiness.
And something tells me that your company helps people get there.
Yes.
So
I can help you get into that space.
See what I did there?
That was perfect.
Do you see how subtle that was?
Yeah.
So if people want to connect with you, Rosana, how would they do that? Whatever.
Social media is a great way. Email. I have
meditation cards.
Yeah, so I got meditation cards. I'm on Facebook, Rosana Sotile. There's a Sacred Space Health Facebook group. I'm on LinkedIn, Rosana Sotile.
Sotile.
Yes.
You got it, brother.
Yes. Thank you.
Well, and look, I love what you are doing because I used to be the guy that would say, I used to be the guy that if I were listening to what you were saying, I'd say, man, this chick is loony. And now I'm like, I mean,
no, it's incredible. It's incredible stuff. I love that The Power of Now is like the thing that it's a great book.
I'm working on it.
It's a phenomenal book.
I'm not putting you on the spot.
So I will say this. I can get to the point now. I used to have horrible sleep pattern, and I get to the point now where if I start meditating before I go to sleep, 4 or 5 minutes into breathing and meditating, I generally go to sleep, which is not, I guess, an awesome meditation practice.
Right.
But I mean, I told her before she came on, I used to hate silence.
Right.
Right.
And now it's like I cherish quiet. And in fact, to the point where loud noise now has the opposite effect.
Yes.
I'm jealous. So you've met my son Fisher, right?
Yes, of course.
Fisher, 7 years old, still uses the static noise machine, the white noise
the white
machine.
noise? Yeah, a lot of people.
And like sometimes I'll leave his door open so I can hear the white noise. Oh, so beautiful. All right, one more time. How can they find you?
Rosana Sotile on Facebook, LinkedIn. Email. You can email me at sacredspacehealth@gmail or
sacredspacehealth@gmail. She also is a realtor and she sells houses too.
I do.
No big deal.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you coming. Next time we have you on, we're going to have specific, you will be on again. You'll be at least welcome on again. She's like, I'm never coming on again, dude. What are you talking about? We'll at least have more time to get into some of the deeper things. Just doing something that's so cool, and I wanted to showcase you, and I'm excited about where you are in your journey, and I'm also excited about where you're going to help other people get in their journey. So thank you so much for coming today.
I'm happy for you on your journey.
Cool. Yeah, you too, Dylan. So we're going to take our first break. Alondra, can we take our first break? We're going to take our first break. Hey, is your cell phone?
It's off. It's off. All right.
So we're going to take our first break. Our second half of the show is more wellness. I love it. So
great.
This is your host, Franz Borkhardt, co-host Dylan Ferguson.
Hello.
We're going to come back shortly. We will be back with the Geaux Rouge show.
Yeah.
Wave, everybody. One more time. Last time, how did they get in touch with you?
sacredspacehealth@gmail.com. Facebook and LinkedIn is Rosana Sotile. Instagram is Rosana Sotile. I'm pretty simple.
You're awesome.
Yeah.
Can you take a quick photo of the three of us, and then we'll get her to her wonderful. She has 4 kids. Wow, she has 4 kids. She's a mom. She's doing awesome. She's dominating life right now. You know, like how we're not. All right.
Nice to meet
Yeah.
you. I'm definitely gonna follow you.
To literally go.
There's a meditation on there.
Dude, I got mine in my pocket already. So you go down.
I'm so excited.
So you go down the stairs. You can stick around if you want to, but you go down the stairs and you go right out that door, and then you're good to go.
Great. Come on in, Kelly.
So I will tell you the quick story about meditation. It was not. So I like Santa Fe a lot. I loved Sedona. I was there by myself. So I was like by myself, just spending time. It was actually Amarillo, Texas, that turned the corner for me. There is a canyon in Amarillo called Palo Alto. It is the second largest canyon next to the Grand Canyon. And I had never gone hiking before. And someone's like, you need to do this 7-mile hike, or it's actually 6 miles, but I got lost. And it has a lighthouse monument, a rock lighthouse monument in the middle of the desert. Lighthouse in the desert, isn't that like a metaphor?
Yeah,
or an allegory, depending on how you're looking at things.
Right.
So I get to the top of this thing, and I'm there early. The sun's coming up, and I was just, I did the meditation prayer thing while I was up there, and that was the corner turning. And then the rest of the trip was just like, oh, this is Santa Fe. This is beautiful. I'll go on a hike here, and I'll go. Oh, Sedona. They have these spiritual vortexes. How nice.
Yeah.
So, well, that being said,
yeah,
you and I need to get more into meditation.
I agree. No,
I mean, not together necessarily, but
no, on our own for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
we're together.
I mean,
yeah.
That's cute.
I use the Waking Up app from Sam Harris for meditation. That's the subscription that I've had that I use.
So, Alondra, do you meditate at all? No? Not really. Maybe that's why you're so angry.
I think so.
It can be.
Yeah, absolutely.
So sometimes my prayer and my meditation look a lot alike.
Yeah.
And in fact, You're not angry. You're not angry.
Oh,
I appreciated your text.
I've never
by the
thought
way.
you were angry.
That made that. If I never do another radio show ever again, your text message that you sent me made my life. All right, so she's gonna come in with some bump music. I'll do the intro again, and then Dylan takes over.
All right.
You're like, I'll believe it when I see it, Franz.
Yeah, we'll see.
Taylor Swift.
What is happening?
It's my favorite Taylor Swift song. All right. Welcome back to the Geaux Rouge radio show. This is your host, Franz Borkhardt. Alondra is master controlling today instead of being at Live After 5. I'm sorry, Alondra.
Thanks, Alon.
And then Dylan Ferguson
Hello.
is guest co-hosting. So, Dylan, before we get into your guest real fast,
yes,
I came to a revelation today on how to be a better diner.
Oh,
I was at one of our favorite quick service places, Quarks.
Quarks on Government Street.
Yes, where you tip at the counter.
Yeah, did you use the kiosk?
I used the kiosk. It was beautiful. Yeah. Sat down, ate a delicious healthy blackened fish meal. Nice. But I got to the point in the meal. This is how to be a better diner. I was thinking of you.
Right.
Got to the point in the meal where I had to make a cosmic decision of, do I leave my debris and trash on the table?
So good. Yeah.
Or do I put it in the basket, take it over the trash can, and put it in there? And one of the employees came up and said, "Hey, I got that." And I was like, no. I got this.
Yeah.
And I threw it away. And I felt like it was such a small thing, but I thought immediately of, Dylan would be proud of me.
I am so proud of you.
Right.
That's so good. And that's do we want to come back to how to be a better diner at the end if there's time?
Yeah, if we have time. But next time we
do some thoughts that I want to share.
Yeah, but speaking of how to be a better diner.
Right.
Borkhardt Law Firm.
I figured, yeah.
Is the show sponsor. I got to get that out there.
Cattywampus way. You're going to talk us through
Well, you know, some things in your mind seem cool, like an El Camino.
Yeah.
And then in reality, you look at an El Camino and you're like,
I think
I want to get an El Camino so bad.
Yeah, or the Ford Ranchero.
Oh, yeah. So
anyway, sorry, Borkhardt Law Firm?
Borkhardt Law Firm, one of the finest criminal defense firm in the country, in the universe, in the multiverse. They are the show sponsor. Okay. And look, if you want to watch more episodes, like our first guest had to watch some episodes before she came on here, you could go to www.geauxrouge.com or the YouTube, the Geaux Rouge YouTube channel. You are not restricted on listening to this show just on Talk 107.3 on Saturdays. You can also watch on demand on YouTube, whatever you want, which leads me to maybe I'm going to want to watch this guest, Kelly, over and over and over again.
This whole show, I think, is going to be like one for the ages.
This may be the last one for me.
Yeah.
No. So that being said,
I thought it was going to be the last one for me.
No. You're good. You're good. So who'd you bring? Show and tell. Who'd you bring?
Show and tell. So today we have Kelly Maples, who's here from the Cook Project, partnered with Together Baton Rouge and LSU. And spoiler alert, Kelly Maples is one of my oldest and dearest friends.
You guys know each other.
We met in high school. It's like a major metropolitan area where we grew up. It's called Denham Springs.
The Springs, baby. The Springs.
I was approximately 13 years old, I think.
Can I tell y'all really quickly how cute Dylan was when he was 13? You see his like really cute kinky hair. So it was grown out into a full ball around his head as a 13-year-old.
I saw a children's picture of Dylan.
I
met Dylan.
No, because this one, at this point, this
popcorn ball, just
10 inches
of hair.
So Dylan is my measuring stick of if I could ever be more like Dylan.
Whoa.
I don't mean that with the utmost sincerity. Nice. Dude, from a spiritual standpoint, from the way you deal with people, I'm a jerk,
brother.
Man.
No, friends, I want to be more like you. What are you talking about?
So Love Fest being over.
Yeah.
To Kelly. So you guys have known each other forever, right?
Forever.
Kelly's putting her social worker hat. Like, are you guys in a relationship or something?
No, I'm here for all types of relationships. I support you.
The social worker.
He has a girlfriend.
I've met her girlfriend.
Yeah, I love your girlfriend.
Oh,
we love her.
So back to Kelly.
Yeah. Anyway, so the reason why we're here today. Kelly does incredible work and has for a number of years now, and so I was so excited when we were doing the mental health show, talk more about the Cope Project. And I figured I would just kind of let you take it away. What is the Cope? What do you do? What is the Cope Project? Tell us everything.
I'll try.
Okay.
Everything you can. Everything. I'll tell you I think what's exciting about the project. So I'm a social worker, as you know, and Franz told me to speak into the mic.
I was trying to help you out. You didn't have to call me out on it. I was just trying to help you.
But I mean, YouTube saw it.
This is my first time on a radio
You're doing great.
show.
You're doing great so far.
Okay. You can do hard things, everyone. So, yeah, so I'm a social worker. As you know, Dylan, I work in mental health. So I've done a variety of mental health roles. I'm in the ER sometimes. I was in the ER a lot of times through COVID. And still work in there sometimes. I did some grief work. Currently, I'm working for the LSU School of Social Work, and I'm coordinating a project called the COPE Project. That stands for Communities Organizing for Power Through Empathy.
I love that. Wait, so I remember when we were trying to plan out the acronym for that, and COPE was the one. Yeah,
Communities Organizing for Power Through Empathy.
Yeah.
And so this project is a 3-year grant-funded project in partnership between the LSU School of Social Work and Together Baton Rouge. So it's a community participatory-based research project, which means that we work with the community to do the research. They're partnering with us to research what's important. So Together Baton Rouge was doing lots of meetings. As most of you are familiar with Together Baton Rouge, they're an organization of organizations.
Some people might not be familiar with Together.
What is Together Baton Rouge?
Together Baton Rouge is a community organizing organization.
Community organizing.
So they are a member-led. So they have lots and lots of institutions from around the community. They all come together as members and they put issues on the table that are important to them. And then they say like, hey, you're from a different church, you're from a different institution, a different community, but we care about this issue, so let's get organized around it. That's what they do. And so they identified mental health in our community as a serious issue, partnered with Dr. Jen Scott, who is the director of this project, a wonderful tenured professor at LSU. We love Jen.
I like mental health people.
Yeah.
I deal with a lot of forensic psychologists, social workers in my line of work, people needing treatment, people needing just somebody to talk to. I often tell people, hey, you can talk to me whenever you want to, but I'm not trained and skilled on how to help you. But there are these things called social workers or therapists.
You know, that is a really interesting segue into why this project
I'm here for you.
Important. So because most people aren't trained professionals, right?
Right.
We look in this project at ways that we can help people identify stress and trauma response within themselves.
Cool.
And then once you identify that in yourself, you learn some coping skills, all that talk about meditation and mindfulness, breathing. We talk about those things and we recognize that it's not a one size fits all. Like everybody gets to figure out what works for them, right?
Perfect.
And so once you can understand what's happening in your body and your mind, what's happening to you spiritually, then you can see what's maybe, oh, Dylan, you called out to work 3 days in a row, man. I'm worried about you.
Right. Taking like that kind of rehabilitative approach as opposed to like the, well, this person's unreliable or, you know, you start to tell the story, you actually gain a little bit more, I guess, breadth of understanding.
Yeah. So you don't need to be a therapist or a licensed mental health professional to recognize when someone you care about or someone sitting in church with you or someone in your community might be in distress. But we do a very intentional workshop on that to look at how do we recognize these things in ourselves? How do we recognize them in someone else? And then the third piece, it's 3 sessions. The third piece really looks at how do we collectively as an institution, as a community, like come together as a group to address the need of mental health care in our community. And if issues come up that are beyond the scope of what an everyday person can address, then we talk about referring properly.
Connecting to resources like
getting you to the right water well.
So okay, wait, just to sum up again. First part is
caring for yourself.
Caring for yourself. Second part is identifying and caring for others.
That's right.
And the third part is as a community, how do we care? And then who signs up for this? Like who participates in these workshops?
So currently, the grant is covering all of the member institutions of Together Baton Rouge that want to be involved. So this is a combination of churches, institutions, some secular institutions, and we actually go into those communities. We identify leaders within that community that want to make a change within their group, identify licensed mental health professionals, teachers, mentors, other folks, and train them to actually deliver these workshops themselves.
So let's say that Dylan and I are not a part of these groups, but we're listening right now.
Yep.
and we're like,
well, this is incredible.
This is incredible.
My organization could use this.
Yeah. Either my organization, or I'd like to get my organization convinced to do this. Connect us.
Yeah. Is there a connection there? Like,
Is there a way that you can get
is there
involved?
a way?
Like,
Yeah.
see what I'm doing there? I'm throwing the fishing line out for you. And
how do we do that?
Yeah, so so currently, because this is grant funded, like this is the extent of our resources that we can do. What we would very much like is to scale this out and get it to as many people as possible. With that, we're looking to build partnerships in the community. We're looking for any other folks who may be interested, and looking at creative ways to look at mental health, because what we're currently doing in our current system isn't working, y'all, right? So this approach looks at meeting people where they are. Folks are more likely to talk to someone sitting beside them in church, sitting beside them at work, someone they love and care about, than they are to make that call to a therapist.
What I've also love is we seem to be at a point in our history where we are embracing mental health a little bit more.
Yes.
It's not as, it doesn't have the same stigmatism that it seemed to have. And then also, I think people are genuinely becoming more and more interested in learning, like, how to become a better version of themselves. Not everybody, clearly not everybody. And then once they learn that, it's that one of those components, it's how do you help other people, right?
Absolutely. Kind of similar to what Rosana said, where then you become the teacher. It's similar, but in the mental health world, it's like, okay, I now know how to care for myself. You have to fill your cup first.
Right.
Right. And then we move on to how can we help others?
You can't give what you don't have, right? I mean, so
when I was thinking of the example on the airplane, whenever you have to put the mask on your skin, so you put it on your kids.
We use that one in our workshop a lot.
Well, you know, the number one rule of rescue diving is don't let the person you're trying to save drown you.
Yes.
Yeah.
We talk about all those things about boundaries with helping others, like a do no harm contract of thinking about how do we make sure we can adequately help, like not promising what we can't do. Right. And really the bigger framework around these workshops are looking at the Baton Rouge community and people who are exhausted from living in disaster-prone region. There's a lot that we look at with stress and trauma response to living in this constant threat of hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, pandemics.
Do you think it's that we're becoming more attuned or in tune with this idea that trauma is real?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, before, like, there were areas of life that were clearly like, hey, you've got a trauma, you know, but now I think we're starting to realize, like, things like flooding, massive, large-scale flooding.
Right, it's a form of trauma.
Losing everything you have.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a trauma with a capital T.
Well, and there's even more subtle forms that I think can just happen in everyday life. That's I think a book Kelly recommended to me that we both love, The Body Keeps the Score, like really kind of opened my eyes to that idea that it's not just those massive things. Like trauma is whatever it is to you, right? Like
that's exactly it. Like you define that.
Right.
We can look into our body and say like for instance, I can say to you, Dylan, like when you feel stressed, what happens to your body?
You start breathing heavier, your thoughts get a lot shorter. The way I describe it is there's just a lack of space between stimulus and response.
Right.
You know, it's almost like being like raw.
So for me, what kind of kick-started me was I was having anxiety breakdowns in loud spaces, in crowded spaces, or in confined spaces. And when I say, I mean, I was like shutting down. And so, but I never saw the signs. I never was in tune enough to notice the signs. I never was aware or attentive to it. It was just like, man, I just went 0 to 100. Like I'm frozen. I can't do anything. And now it's like I can feel it. And I'm like, okay, slow down.
Well, it's like you mentioned before, right? Like it used to be just a matter of like, well, just get over it. You know what I mean? Like well, what's wrong with me? Like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
And then instead, like having that recognition that like, oh wait, like this is a thing that everyone experiences,
right?
And as that is, so there is a path.
Exactly.
To overcoming
and coping. Exactly.
Yeah. The word coping.
And we talk so much about coping in our workshops, in that if we don't take intentional time to talk about this stuff, then we never create a language around it. And Franz, just like you said, you never realized it until you were in crisis, right? But just by having conversations where we create just the words, like we know what to say to the doctor when we fell down and hurt our arm. hey, I fell down, there's blood. Like I scraped my arm.
My bone's here. It's
Whenever we're having other types of troubles, like maybe we're overwhelmed, maybe we're grieving, maybe we're overwhelmed with the world, most of us don't know how to talk about that because we weren't taught how to.
I was raised to just suppress, like,
oh yeah,
you need to get your emotional construction crew to build those walls up, buddy, because nobody here cares. And my dad was a loving guy, but that was just how we.
Well, because I mean, what Kelly said, just about having the language, and so much of it is just learning the vocabulary to have the words to be able to talk about it.
So we have about 4 minutes left.
I know, and so I wanted to see, how do we get involved? Like, how do we support the COPE project in Baton Rouge? What's the best way?
Just love to hear from anyone who would like to know more. You can reach me at our email, which is healthequitytbr.
healthequitytbr
at gmail.com.
At gmail.com.
Yeah, we would love to get involved. I mean, anyone who is interested in this, I want to hear from you. I want to sit down and have coffee. I want to talk about your ideas. We're really interested in how we can keep moving this forward. You know, another piece of this we didn't talk a lot about is that this is like all a research project. So we're collecting data through this.
Brett.
Yes, so we're collecting data at every workshop, and we'll have real statistics and numbers on health in Baton Rouge.
So this is gonna be a little side message that I give everybody.
Yeah.
This is something that if you're even remotely curious about this, reach out and ask.
That's Health Equity
TBR.
Health Equity TBR
at gmail.com.
And again, the Geaux Rouge show is not giving out social or psychological advice by any stress of imagination. However, if you're going through some stuff, you don't have to be by yourself.
Right.
You can always reach out for help. And even if, like Kelly suggested, even if it's something they can't help you with, you know, maybe it's just, hey, you need to talk to this person. This person does work on Maseratis, and you're a Maserati. You're special. You know, we do work on BMWs here. So, Kelly, I'm glad. Look at you contributing to the show, Dylan.
Don't act like I've never.
So, Kelly, I feel comfortable saying anytime you want to come back, anytime you have anything, please let us know. And if there's anything we can do to help, so this really unplanned became a wellness show, which I'm very happy about.
And you'll know it's Mental Health Awareness Month.
Is it mental health awareness? We did.
You know that. This was on purpose.
There are no.
And we also want to get someone from the Behind You project on as well.
Yes.
With the Southern Smoke Foundation.
Yeah.
To be continued that, or do we have enough time to? How much time do we have left?
Today we have about 2 minutes left, if maybe a minute or two. But what we can do is because you co-host the show, anytime you have a guest
co-host,
whatever. I mean, you want the show, you can have the show, dude.
I couldn't do it without.
I mean, look, there's always a place for, celebrating food, how to become a better diner, which is what I did today at Corks.
Amazing.
By putting my own tray. So white entitled, right?
I don't know how a clap's going to come.
My own stuff away. I mean, for goodness sake.
I want a slow clap to this, but I don't know how it's going to come across on the video.
Tangent. What I noticed was people were just leaving it all over the place.
Well, that's what I was going to say, is that it's okay to look around and see what's going on. Look and see what the norm is. Like, you don't have to pick up after yourself at every single place, but if you notice there's a bus stop, if you notice that you don't see anyone picking up, then chances are, like, you are the one.
Well, the other thing I like is if it's a crowded place, and this was a crowded lunch, I want to be a part of the solution because I know what it feels like to wait for a table. And so by putting my stuff away, I just speed the process up for somebody else. So
good. It's never unwelcome.
Health and wellness, good food.
Well, so good. So we want to wrap up one more time. Healthequitytbr at gmail.com is how you can reach the COPE project partnered with Together Baton Rouge and LSU.
Kelly is an amazing person. Rosana was good.
Rosana was awesome.
Alondra is awesome.
Alondra is great.
She's probably the best.
Silent hero back there.
Alondra,
holding this whole thing together.
Thank you so much for humoring.
Saving us from phone noise.
Yeah, this is like the Titanic. So that being said, www.gorouge.com. Look, if you haven't followed the YouTube channel yet, Alondra, click follow the YouTube. Click follow, and you can watch like Kelly, Rosana, Dylan. You can watch all sorts of crazy stuff. Franz, occasionally Franz. Although I like having guests where you do the.
Did you enjoy that?
It was hard. It was very difficult for me.
You did so good. You were so quiet.
I kept telling myself, "You're not in control. You're not in control. Let Dylan be in control. Let Dylan. He's a good guy. You trust Dylan."
Like appropriate distraction techniques on your phone. That was really
I
good.
did.
Yeah, Candy Crush is a perfect.
No, well, I was actually doing some marketing stuff for the show, so I was trying to step out. So that being said, thank you guys for listening. Kelly, thank you for being here. Dylan, you're always a breath of fresh air. Guys, have a great week. Enjoy your Saturday. Enjoy your weekend. Get out, do something for your wellness. We'll talk to you next week.